Welcome to today's edition of the IntoTexas AI podcast. It's your look at AI news and trends impacting Texas. I'm your host, Shannon Belew. Let's get started. Welcome to IntoTexas AI, the podcast where we look beyond the national AI headlines and focus on what is actually happening here in Texas, inside companies, research labs, industries, and communities across the state. Today, we're taking a look at some of the AI headlines across Texas. One of the loudest AI conversations in Texas this week has once again been about data centers. Lawmakers held hearings at the state capitol examining whether the state's current rules are keeping up with the pace of development and how Texas should balance economic growth with the pressure these facilities can place on power, water, landowners, and surrounding communities. The state's sales tax incentives for data centers also came under scrutiny. That conversation is clearly getting more serious, and we will continue to follow it. But for now, I also want to take a look at some interesting developments beyond the data center debate. These are a few of the smaller stories that are showing us where AI is actually being put to work across Texas. Puts on a hard hat. Let's begin in Houston, where London based, yes, you heard me correctly, London based Applied Computing announced a $20 million Series A funding round and the opening of its first U.S. office. That office will be in, yes, you guessed it, Houston. And there's a good reason for choosing that city as its first stateside office. The funding round was led by Houston based engineering firm KBR, and it included participation from San Francisco-based Databricks Ventures. Also announced, though, was a multi-year joint development deal embedding the startup's AI directly into KBR's operations. So Applied Computing has developed an AI platform called Orbital for industrial energy operations. And it's focusing on bringing the technology into environments such as refineries and petrochemical plants. The platform is being built around physics grounded chemical engineering knowledge and the enormous volumes of operating data created by complex industrial facilities. The goal is to help operators improve performance while still producing recommendations that engineers can trace and evaluate. Now, this is vitally important, especially for a refinery, which has to account for physical systems, safety requirements, and real operating constraints. Traditional refineries typically capture massive amounts of sensor data, but currently utilize less than 8% of it for real-time decisions. Orbital allows refinery technicians to run facility simulations and compress equipment anomaly investigations, a process that typically spans several days. Well, now it'll happen in a matter of seconds. Also of note is that KBR has already integrated Orbital into its Insight 3.0 platform for energy projects and is using the product for ammonia production. I think this story in Houston spotlights a pattern we're seeing emerge across Texas. Specialized AI companies are locating near the industries they are trying to transform, and influential sector leaders are helping make the deals happen. All right, now the hardware behind the AI boom. There was another Houston area story this week that solves problems from the hardware side. Applied Optoelectronics, a Sugar Land-based company, is moving forward with a 400,000 square foot manufacturing expansion in Pearland. Now, the company makes optical transceivers. Very simple terms, these are components that allow enormous amounts of data to travel quickly over fiber between servers, switches, and computing systems. Applied Optoelectronics says that the new facility will help it expand production of faster 800 gigabit and 1.6 terabit optical transceivers used in modern AI infrastructure. You know, we talk constantly about chips when we discuss the physical AI economy, but those chips also have to communicate with one another. As AI systems grow, moving data quickly and efficiently becomes its own technical and manufacturing challenge. So, this is really another example of Texas capturing a piece of the AI supply chain, not only by hosting data centers, but by making some of the equipment those facilities need. It also gives the data center conversation, well, a little more texture. The AI infrastructure boom creates real concerns, as we know, about electricity and water and well, now public incentives. It can also create manufacturing investment and new technical capacity. Texas leaders will increasingly have to evaluate both of those at the same time. All right, autonomy moves into daily operations. So now let's head north, where two announcements showed how autonomous technology is moving from demo version into ordinary logistics. Flytrex, the drone delivery company operating in North Texas, announced a partnership with delivery platform Nash. The combined system is now live across Flytrex locations in the DFW area. Now, what makes this partnership interesting is not just the fact that a drone can deliver food. We've obviously seen that. But the more important piece is the software deciding how each delivery should be completed. So, based on factors such as the order itself, timing, even weather, the platform can route a delivery either to a Flytrex drone or to a ground courier through Nash. And that's a practical example of an AI and automation trend we're going to see across many industries. The value is not just in one autonomous machine, it's in the orchestration layer that decides which resource should perform which task and when. A drone may be the fastest option for one order, and then a human driver might be the better choice for the next. A useful system has to understand both. Now, we also heard from autonomous trucking company Aurora as they announced new agreements involving routes through Texas with both Value Truck and Charger Logistics. Value Truck will begin with service on the Dallas to Laredo and Fort Worth to Phoenix corridors, whereas Charger Logistics will initially use Aurora's driverless trucks between Dallas and Laredo. The routes will begin as supervised trips, and that starts in Q3 of this year, 2026, and then transitions to daily, fully driverless hauls by the end of the year. The agreements leverage Aurora's second generation hardware platform, which, according to the company, is designed for a 1 million mile lifespan and capable of operating continuously to maximize asset utilization. I also thought it was interesting that Aurora will own and operate the vehicles and provide them to the carriers via a technology as a service or task contract structure. Now, look, I don't know if this is the standard business model for autonomous trucking companies, but I do find that task structure interesting. So we'll continue to watch this. As a whole, I think this industry is fascinating, and I do like that it's being tested in Texas. We have a large population with sprawling metropolitan areas, major freight corridors, cross border commerce, and, a business community that is constantly looking for ways to move goods more efficiently. It's likely the future success will be defined by whether autonomous systems can fit into daily operations, handle exceptions, and really make delivery networks more predictable. Okay, let's look at building AI labs and teaching AI to forget. Finally, here's a story from Rice University that caught our attention. Rice received a $19.9 million National Science Foundation Award, or NSF, for a 4-year project that will combine AI, robotics, and remotely accessible laboratories to accelerate the development of electronic and quantum materials. The broader idea is sometimes called a self-driving lab. Now, researchers can use AI to help design experiments, robotic equipment to carry them out, and the resulting data to determine what should be tested next. The award is actually part of NSF's Programmable Cloud Laboratories Testbed Initiative. And I think, again, this is an interesting extension of how we think about the future of AI. It's not only about analyzing existing information, but using AI to generate new scientific knowledge faster. By the way, we're working on a future episode of the podcast that takes a closer look at some of the really incredible AI related research that's being funded at universities across Texas. It's really an interesting look at what's happening across our universities in the state. So look for that episode to be out in the next few days. In the meantime, there's one other very different kind of announcement from Rice where researchers just published an argument with a wonderfully counterintuitive title. It's called To Build Lifelong AI. Teach it to forget. The researchers examined the problem of AI systems trying to learn continuously while operating with limited memory and computing power. Their conclusion was not that an intelligent system should remember everything. In some circumstances, selectively discarding information can help it preserve the knowledge that remains useful and stay flexible when conditions change. That may also be a useful metaphor for businesses adopting AI. More data is not automatically better, and permanent memory is not the same thing as good judgment. The real challenge is deciding what information should shape the next decision. So, speaking of shaping things, what did the Texas AI landscape look like this week? Well, as we've just talked about, from the state capitol, where leaders are wrestling with the cost and responsibilities that come with rapid data center growth, to universities like Rice, who have researchers using AI to speed up discovery, and all the business use cases in between, we can continue to see that Texas is building an interconnected AI economy, one shaped by energy, advanced manufacturing, transportation, science, and yes, of course, public policy, and the practical demands of running real world systems. And that may be the state's, well, most durable advantage. Texas gives AI a place where it has to perform. All right, that's all for today. As always, thanks for listening to IntoTexas AI. I'm Shannon Belew. Until next time, keep looking beyond the hype and toward the systems that are actually changing how Texas works.